2. And today, I'm really excited about this topic. We're going to be talking about dating down and if there really is the one. And if not, how do you figure out who your person is? Today, I am joined by Brandon. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. So, for starters, do you believe in the one?
I do not.
Why not?
It's like mathematically impossible. So when you asked me to do this podcast, it said to look up the one, and as far as the population goes, for people that are like 20 to 40, there's like 2.3 billion people on the earth. And if you split that 50-50, and you're looking at, 8-10 millionths of a percent just to find your one. Now you have to multiply that by itself again for that person to have you as their one. And I think that's 7 100 quadrillionths of a percent.
All right.
So yeah. So just throwing it out there, mathematically I would say it's impossible. But obviously you can say, well, there's a chance.
Right.
So
technically there's a possibility of it.
Always is. You can't ever rule anything completely out. But no, I do not believe in the one.
Okay.
It's just, like I said, it's mathematically impossible. I mean, if you look at Greenville, where we're at, from people ages 20 to 30, it's like a 0.009% chance for men to find the one woman, if that woman is in Greenville, and for women it's 0.01% to find that man.
And that means that they would both have to be living in Greenville already.
Yeah.
And then find each other.
And that would be a 10 millionth of a percent chance.
All right.
So
yeah, not likely.
If you want to look at logically, mathematically, because
Right.
that's how
I'm a
I
logical
think.
person,
Yeah, it's
it
not
makes sense.
exactly. I mean, you say, do you believe in the one?
I don't think I believe in the one, but I do kind of struggle with, like, you know how people talk about like the one that got away, or like the one that could have been, like those
the
types of
mischance,
things, right?
yeah.
Like I wonder if there's like just a certain number of chances we get in life to find our person, and then would those people be the ones? But I'm not sure, like, because I mean, you meet people that are in their 60s and 70s and finally find the love of their life. So
well, yeah, and then you even take people who have been married for 50 plus years, like as we were talking previously off air.
Both of our grandparents, right? Yeah.
My grandma passed before my grandfather did, and he dated a couple other ladies, in his 80s. So I mean, it's not like it's impossible to keep finding other people.
Right.
His problem is they kept dying on him, so
my gosh, that's so sad.
It was, and I think he eventually did stop after a while, just because.
That'd be depressing.
Yeah.
Reliving trauma over
I think he dated like 2 other girls after.
Who died?
Who both ended up dying on him. So it's.
All right. Well.
Yeah, it's a very very
something to
uplifting
look
note.
forward
Yeah,
to.
exactly. In your 80s, there's.
I want to die first, whoever I marry. That's the deal. All right. Yeah. No. See, like my grandfather on my dad's side, he's the only grandparent I have that's still alive, and he's been dating the same woman for like 15 years. I guess they're like, that legal marriage where they like you live together.
Yeah.
They're like that, but they're not actually married.
Yeah.
But she always tells us that like she's ready for him to die because she's so sick of him and stuff. And I'm like, that's not love. Like, let's.
Yeah, that's.
But she won't leave, and I'm like, all right, well, fair. You don't want to be left alone. Like,
I mean, and that's where it is,
age.
especially when you get to that age, is you don't want to be alone because you hear all those stories from like in like nursing homes, like the nurses that like
have
see
to
people.
walk in, yeah.
Well, they just treat patients, and then the nurses are like their family because they don't have a family.
Right.
You
hear about that, or you hear about people like being left alone for like a week, even if their family comes to see them once a week. Like, what if their family comes on Sunday and they die Monday, and then their body's just kind of there.
Yeah,
like, that's not a fun thought to have either.
Who would have thought the one conversation would be so morbid?
Right. But no, like I don't know. I think I look at it as like when I was in high school, like my high school boyfriend, for the person I was then, they could have been the one, right? And then like my fiance could have never been the one, even though I got closest with him, he was not the one. But different people I've dated, I've thought they could be, and so like I do wonder, like how do you, I guess, figure out if there's not the one and you can't believe in that, like how do you figure out how you're compatible to someone to that degree?
Well, yeah, and that's work. But I think also when you think of the one, a lot of it is, it's kind of like this social stigma to keep people together. Because if you have, if you get there in your relationship, you think, oh, I found the one, where you're like, all right, you know, you start dating, everything's great, you can see yourself with that person for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You think you found the one. It's kind of something that like society has like pushed in a romantic way to keep people together, because
I can see that.
people change consistently, so
Right.
that one is not going to always be that one. But if you have that idea where he's your one,
You have to work
or
it out
she's
because
his one, yeah, there's more of an incentive to work it out, because if you screw that up,
then
yeah.
the one's gone. Yeah.
exactly, then you're basically.
That's true. I
you're
never really
nursing
thought
home.
about it. nursing home down. No, I get that. I kind of agree with that. I definitely think that I had a thought on everything you just said. It just went right out of my head.
Well, I can move on. The next
Go
is
for it.
it's more of like when you start thinking of the one, you go into this aspect of you're looking for something so specific, because everybody's got that laundry list of things that they want in a partner,
Right.
and it only comes down to how much are you willing to sacrifice to find that happiness, to be with somebody.
True.
And I think there's certain people, especially the younger they are, the less likely they're willing to sacrifice, because they're so young, that you're passing up on so many great opportunities.
Because you think you need this.
Yes, because
Yeah.
you think you are, you know, he's like for, you know, when I'm on online dating, Tinder, whatnot.
Yeah.
I see some of these girls' profiles, and I'm pretty sure there's guys' profiles that are the same, but it's like, oh, you have to be like 6'2" or taller.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, well, you're looking for like not even a full percent of the male population there.
Right.
And then you have like 10 other things below that, and it's like, well, you've already cut off like 99% of the guys looking for a guy who's above 6'2", and then you have this laundry list afterwards, and you expect them to all fit that as well.
Right.
And it's just there's certain things you need to accept, which goes into the husband store joke I was telling you about.
Yes, I want to hear this.
All right. So we'll play this along with you.
All right.
All right.
I haven't heard it yet, guys.
So, you can follow on. You can just look up the husband store joke. There's a Reddit post on it. So, all right. So you can only visit the store once.
Okay.
Right? There are 6 floors, and the value of the product, which is husbands, increases as the shopper ascends. So as you keep going up the floors, it becomes better and better.
Okay.
The shopper may choose any item from a particular floor, or may choose to go up to the next floor, but cannot go down except to exit the store. All right?
Okay, so you can only pick one item.
Yes.
Okay.
So as you go up from floor to floor, you can only pick one item. Once you pick the item, then you can leave. But if you go all the way up to the top floor,
You're stuck with that?
you're stuck with that and you have to leave.
Okay.
All right? All right. So floor 1, these men have jobs.
Okay.
You want to keep going up?
Yeah.
All right. Floor 2, have job and love kids.
Okay, keep going.
All right. Have jobs, love kids, and are extremely good looking. Now you're only on the 3rd floor.
Right. But I'm scared. Alright, we'll keep going on.
All right.
You know what?
Floor 4, they have jobs, love kids, drop dead gorgeous looking, and help with housework.
Alright, I'm glad I went up. I want to see 5.
All right. Have jobs, love kids, drop dead gorgeous, help with housework, and have a strong romantic streak. So, sex life.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I figured that out. I'm just
Alright.
trying to figure out if 6 is like, they're dead or something, you know, too good to be true. But I want to know what 6 is, so
Alright.
we're going to do it.
And this is the whole point of the joke. Sign reads, you're a visitor 31,456,012 to this floor. There are no men on this floor. This floor solely exists to prove that women are impossible to please.
Fair. I could have stopped at 4,
Gotcha. Yeah.
I think. Like, I could have, you know, I could
I
have.
think a lot of people, you know, in the right mind would.
Yeah,
yeah,
but I
it's-
wanted to know, you know.
Exactly,
like-
and that's where the whole thing is like
Yeah.
it keeps getting better and better. It's like, oh man, after 5 floors, that 6th floor,
Right.
that person's gonna be the one,
and
but it doesn't exist.
I like it. Oh, it's true. I don't think men are fully possible to please too, though.
Oh,
I think it's definitely.
I mean, everybody has their difficulties. I mean, I would say as a man, I think it's a little bit easier to please. There was a side joke that I saw some about like the wife store, and it's like good looking will drink beer, and most men leave after floor 2.
I like it. Yes. No, like, I mean, I know we were talking about Tinder a few weeks ago, and you were like, you know, so many of the girls don't even swipe on, you know, like for me, I could swipe and like get 20, 30 matches in 5 minutes versus you're gonna get 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then it's like hard if those 1 or 2 even message you, like, you know, like going through that whole thing.
And I mean, if you look at the data, I mean, Tinder is like, I would say like 70% of the people who have accounts on Tinder are men.
Oh yeah.
And then like
100%.
30% of it's women. So it's already a skewed statistic as far as getting matches. But yeah, I mean, online dating in general is just...
Online dating is a joke. Like,
yeah.
You know, like for me, I know a lot of guys that I've known, like, or talked to, they're like, no, I just swipe and then on everything. And then they swipe me back. You know, like, they're like, probably, I'll get more matches if I just do that. But like for me, I'm like looking at profiles and like, you know, checking things. And
I mean, I usually swipe through the pictures like real quick, and then I get adjust like, all right, is this person like, is it visually pleasing?
Right.
And then I'll look at the profile, and then like there's usually like red flags like, oh, like they smoke or stuff like that, things that like, I can't deal with.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh crap, all right, just swipe
bye.
left. But I mean, well, the thing is I used to be that just swipe right, but the thing is the apps have gotten smart. They have algorithms. So the more you swipe right, the less like you're going to show up to actual active users as for girls.
Oh, because they think you're a bot.
Well, it's more the fact that you're just trying to game their system.
Gotcha.
And like there's certain I forget what it's called, but it's like a matchmaking rank. So as far as like, you know, if you're swiping on active users and then active users are swiping on you, your score is going to go up, so they're going to show you more.
Okay.
But it's like, so if you keep swiping on people, so like they have like their profiles that you keep swiping on, it's going to lower your score, and then you're not going to be as visible to others as well. So like they make it so that even though you're not paying, like it's going to take you longer to find somebody. Yeah. Because they want to keep you on the app, because they have the ads and everything like that, so that they have to figure out.
Ads are so annoying.
Yeah.
Like, and they're always an attractive person on the app. And I'm like, why?
Well, see, that's where it's benefit for me. If they look too attractive, I'm like, you know what, swipe right, because it's either an Instagram thought or it's like some sort of person that's like doing like OnlyFans, something that I'm not interested in. Or it's like a fake profile. So it's like, if there's a point where it's like, all right, she's like a 9, 9.5, 10. Swipe left because it's not real. Because you're not on Tinder. I'm sorry, you're not on Tinder.
Hey, you never know. There are some hot chicks.
You could be. Like, I mean, yes, there's a small chance.
Small chance. Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I've been on some of like my guy friends' Tinders. So I'm like, holy fuck. Some of these girls are like, I gotta up my Tinder game, guys. But no, I mean, I don't really have a lot of luck. But I like that, like, husband story.
It's a great joke. I had to write it down because I didn't want to butcher it because it's pretty lengthy.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. I like, I don't know, maybe I would have had to go with 5. Like, I would have to have the sex component in there.
Oh, you have to have that strong romantic
I could switch some things probably with the sex component.
So you probably would say maybe get rid of the housework and then have him be...
I'd be okay with, like, if they were really good in bed, I'd be okay with that. You know?
Well, because I mean, we'll say if you're going to sacrifice some of which they have to have jobs.
Right. No, jobs.
I would assume jobs would be important.
Jobs are super important. Kids. I need them to like kids. Yeah. Whether I have them or not, they gotta like them.
Drop dead good looking.
I mean, that's definitely nice.
And then there's housework.
Yeah. So I drop housework. Yeah, I can clean dishes and stuff. Like, but no, I can't sacrifice that. Let's be honest about our lives.
I think everybody would want that strong sex life.
See, some people don't. Like, I've had friends that like only sleep with their like husband or boyfriend like once every 3 to 6 months, and like they're fine with that. And they're like, you know, like they live in boyfriend or live in they live with their husband obviously, and their husband's like complaining, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'd complain. Like, it's amazing
that's an easy way to end a relationship for dumb reasons.
Yeah. Well, and that's where like communication comes in, and that's where the whole like idea of the one or anything else. It's like, you know, like you gotta talk about that stuff.
Like I said, if you find your one, you get lazy. Right. And to me, that would be considered that person getting lazy because they're not putting.
They're comfortable.
Exactly. They're not putting any effort for the other person.
Right.
Which is where that's why I said when mathematically, all right, well maybe you found the one, but are you his one or are you her one? But yeah, it's
so complicated to be in a relationship.
Yeah,
or just finding a relationship.
It is, and it baffles me when, like you said, our grandparents, 50s, 50 years, and I was sitting there thinking, it's like, God damn, like,
Things were-
the battle scars.
Well, one thing I've learned, because I've talked to my mom a lot about this, and like I've kind of asked her a lot about her childhood and stuff, because my grandparents were together, like, I think they were together 60 years before my grandpa died. And I asked her like how home life was, you know, like what her mom did, and her mom was like stay at home, you know, like the 50s, 60s wife, like just housework, all that stuff. And they never talked. Like, my grandfather was like head of household, no one argued with him, his way went, and that was it. And I'm like, all right, like I would love that 50-year romance, but that will never be me. So, you know, like that's where I think times have changed, and it's so good and so bad at the same time, because you have to learn how to do things differently and still stay with someone.
And I mean, I can sit there and look at, like, my grandmother was like the life of every party, but my grandfather was head of household. And I remember we were on vacation, and my cousin had proposed to his now wife, and he had asked my grandfather for any advice, and he said his one advice was compromise. Is you have to be willing to compromise in order for anything to work, because you're going to have to make sacrifices, and they're going to have to make sacrifices, because it's obviously a two-way street. So that was his big advice. And I mean, I think because my parents are going, is it maybe 35 years soon?
Okay, my parents are at 30.
Yeah, and you know, my dad is, you know, head of household, but my mom runs the finances. And they communicate constantly.
Right.
And so, like, it's a little bit different dynamic when you said your grandparents as far as words, but like, and they've made it work because they do communicate.
Right.
And they do get along. And there's a certain aspect where my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She maybe worked part-time, but that's about it.
That's how my mom was, you know.
So, I mean, that seems to be the dynamic that I think works best, in my opinion. That's what I'm hoping to look for.
Yeah.
But obviously, in today's age, especially, we don't want to go down the whole economy route where everything seems to be going down the drain in the next couple of years, but you know.
Yeah, you know. Well, I know for me, like, so my mom was stay at home, and my dad has always worked. And my mom was the breadwinner before I was born.
Gotcha.
So, like, she was a pharmaceutical drug rep making close to 6 figures. And my dad made like $12 an hour. As an electrician. And then as soon as I was born, my mom was on maternity leave, and then was like, nope, like not leaving my daughter. And my dad had to like fill those shoes, you know, like do everything from then on. And I never knew I was poor. You know, like growing up, like my parents were good about, you know, we got to order Jack in the Box. It was off the $1 menu, but we still got to go out to eat. You know, like, or we got like a $5 pizza or something. So they were good at like masking our finances. But like looking back at it, we were poor. And like I look back at the struggles, and I've talked to my mom, you know, as an adult about the struggles they dealt with. And that's where I want to work. Like if I have kids, you know, like I don't think I could give up my job, because I saw how much, unless I married someone who like made money, like fully was able to support us without like a lot of struggle.
Well, and I think that goes down the whole avenue as far as how much money is enough money. And I think there's people that think like another thing that you see, like I see on the dating pool, you have to make like 6 figures. Like there's what they call the 6 sixes. 6-pack abs, 6 feet tall, 6 inches long, 6 figures.
You're bored.
Yeah, there's
girls are dumb.
There's some that like it's like, all right, well you're asking for a little too much.
Get on a sugar daddy website, guys.
Well, you're not gonna find that. You're not gonna find the 6 foot 6 abs or 6-pack abs on a sugar daddy site.
Well, maybe you can do half and half.
Yeah.
Like you know, the money from 6 figures, sugar daddy, everything else.
But no, my point is more of like, I think there's certain people where there's enough money where I think a lot of people can, you know, live a good life. But I think everybody wants that posh lifestyle that isn't really.
But now it's like getting where just to live a decent life with a family, you know, you have to be making more than you did like even 10 years ago. And like with the market and the economy and everything else, like it's getting harder and harder.
Oh yeah, inflation.
Like it's ridiculous. And I mean, for me, I want it to be more like I can take my kids on like a vacation every year, like a good one. You know,
Gotcha.
I don't want to go to like Jekyll Island like my parents did and stay in like a rundown house. And don't get me wrong, like they tried their best, but like that was our vacation every year, and it was. I have good memories from it, but I always remember like looking at all the other houses around us that were rented, and like we were in like the trailer home style of like, you know, like
I understand.
I want to be able to bring my kids to like not even something super extravagant, but something
Yeah.
nicer, and be able to like go buy them ice cream. You know, like be able to go out for a night.
Gotcha.
And, you know, that type of stuff.
All right.
Like,
No,
so,
I mean, that makes a little bit more sense, but yeah, it just seems like the perception that people give off is like, oh, it's got to be like, we got to go to this all-inclusive resort
right. No,
every
I
year,
just want to
got
be
to
able to
spend thousands of dollars on
No.
a vacation.
see. I mean,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, I like travel. Like traveling's a
Mhm.
huge thing for me. But my job is also from anywhere.
Yeah,
Like I work from home, so I can do. You know, like I could work and still like raise kids.
yeah,
But I wouldn't. As of right now, unless I met someone who made enough money where I was like, we can give our kids a comfortable life, not stress about their college constantly. You know, like not
Yeah.
like if they have a medical emergency, I'm not stressing about the bill. Like unless we got there, I wouldn't be able to give up my job.
Yeah.
And that's where the one is hard because so many guys want someone to stay at home.
yeah.
And I think that's because everyone's not staying at home. So now that's such a
Well, it's the
Commodity.
it's the traditional mindset,
yeah.
and I think a lot of people grew up with that. Not everybody, but a lot of people did.
yeah.
And they, you know, the whole saying goes is you as a son, you marry your mother essentially.
Right.
You find like a woman who's like your mother,
Mhm.
and as a daughter, you marry your father,
Yep.
as much as you can find as close as possible.
Mhm.
So I think that's how all that dynamic comes
That's
in, where
right.
you're trying to find the same thing that you grew up in,
Right.
which can be good or bad. It can
I
really
was gonna
mess
say,
up
I
people.
think that's
and-
where a lot of people need to look at the good and the bad of their parents, right? And
Mhm.
like sift through that and not just see them as like heroes as adults, but like
Yeah,
what good things did they do? You know, that
Yeah.
I could look for in a partner, and then what things were they like my dad cannot communicate. He's gotten better in the last like 4 years
Mhm.
because my mom took him to like all this like, you know, Christian
Yeah.
counseling stuff, but he doesn't know how to communicate. So that was one thing I was like, I never want to marry my dad. When I was younger, I said that, and then I was
Yeah.
like, well, why? Because he does have great quality. You know, like he was a great
Yeah.
dad, like he was great with his kids and stuff. But like when it came to my mom, like I would walk in and my mom crying because he could never communicate his like feelings or anything.
gotcha.
So like I think that was why, and so I was able to look at it like, all right, well these things I don't want.
Yeah.
Here's the checklist of no's.
Mhm.
Here's my red flags for my
Yeah.
father. But here's like he's a great carpenter. You know, like he
He's
has all
a
the
handyman.
tools. He's a handyman. He can
knows
fix
how-
anything.
Yeah. So if someone breaks in
So,
the house,
right, like he
knows
built
what
us
he's doing.
playgrounds and he built a
Mhm.
shed. You know, like yeah. My mom never had to like hire someone to do anything at the house.
Yeah.
He could do it all. So like those things I like.
Yeah. So now, would you consider your mom to marry down or up? Because you said she made more money than your father did initially, but it sounds like he does so much around the house, or can do so much around the house, that
So I think she married down, but I don't think it's because of money or what he does around the house or looks. I think it's just their personalities because of what she kind of like wanted out of life.
gotcha.
So I think they're pretty close, you know, like they both work really hard on
Is her
everything.
maybe room too small?
Probably. She's got stuff like in the attic that she hasn't put out because it's too small.
Needs
so.
a bigger house. For the
Needs a bigger
room.
house, or just change the living room to the
Gotcha.
Mayberry room. Like move the, switch it up. Guys, my mom's an Andy Griffith Show fan, if I haven't mentioned that, and she has a shrine. She
What's
just
that?
turned our dining room into a shrine. Brandon's seen it.
I avoided it when I was over.
Oh, did you avoid
Yes, I
it? All
avoided
right.
it. Well, you told me that you basically go in there and it's like creepy and just like a lot at once.
It's a
and
lot.
It's like maybe another day.
Yeah. No, Ian walked into it once and backpedaled his way out. And then the second time, my mom forced him into the room. And he stayed in there for exactly 3 seconds, walked out, and she asked him, what's wrong? And he's like, it's creepy.
Yeah.
And my dad just laughed. It was great. But, so I think the biggest reason I'd say, if there was someone that dated down, and I think there are pretty close, it's probably like 60-40,
Mhm.
type of a thing. But, is her personality is just so, like, she's like me. She's outgoing, she's adventurous, she plans things, she loves people coming over.
Yeah.
She loves being the host, she loves getting out and doing stuff and meeting people. She will never meet a stranger.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter who you are. And my dad's so quiet and takes so long to warm up into anyone and like struggles with carrying conversations until he knows you pretty well. And I think that hurt her social life a lot.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's because that sounds exactly like my grandparents.
Really?
Yeah, my grandfather was not exactly the most. If you talked, it was a topic that he was super comfortable talking about. He'd talk your ear off. But as far as everything else, my grandma was the life of the party. Like she was always upbeat, had to be the center of attention kind of person. But like my grandfather was the exact opposite.
That's great.
Very quiet.
That's my
like,
dad.
Yeah. I wouldn't say he didn't know how to communicate, but it's just more of like he didn't really care to be a huge talker. And I have a habit of being like that too when I get into large social areas. It's like, unless somebody comes talk to me, I'm just kind of like, I'm just going to be myself.
Just observer, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's one, but I think what hurt it for her was because he took so long to work with people. I think a lot of couples that they were friends with, like, stopped inviting them to things too soon.
Gotcha.
Like, so, you know, like, they'd get invited to dinners when I was really young, but my mom would always, like, say their friends stopped talking to them after a certain amount of time.
Gotcha.
So, like, that's where I'm like, you know, like, that kind of
Yeah.
hurt her. Like,
That makes
social,
sense. I mean, I think my grandfather, he could be involved in the conversation, but like, he's not going to be the one that's going to walk up and be like, hey, you know.
Yeah. And my dad's gotten better, but he still like struggles with it a lot. So like that's where I'd say, you know, my mom like kind of settled in that department. Everything else, I think they're pretty. I mean, they were both super attractive when they were younger, when they got married. You know, like they my dad also doesn't do fitness, and I think that's another thing. My mom, like, he was more the reacher, because like now he looks his age, like he's almost 65, and my mom looks like 45, 50, and she's only 2 years younger than him.
Really?
Yeah.
So when I first met, I thought there was at least like an 8-some-odd-year age gap.
They're 2 years apart.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So like.
Yeah. No. All right. Because I thought I was like, oh, there must be a decent age gap because your dad does look much older than your mom.
Yep.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing. But like, no, they're 2 years apart. So.
Wow. Okay.
Very different, you know. So I think those are the ways that, you know, like if there was someone that was dating down, it was my mom, or like settled. But what about your parents?
See, that's a hard one because, like I said, my mom runs the finances. My dad does so much. Like, you know, he's an airplane mechanic, so he's great with his hands. So anything happens to the cars, he does it himself.
Right.
Anything that, you know, yard work, they basically both do. My mom uses power tools. Like she's real crafty.
So really
and
give and take.
Yeah, there's a lot of give and take. I would say, if anything, I think they're even. I think they're a very good mesh, and it's something that I realized because after I graduated high school, I'm in college, and I realized all my buddies from high school, all their parents are divorced.
Yeah.
And mine were the only ones that were together, and it kind of helped me realize, like, am I lucky to grow up in the family that I did, because my parents were great. Like, I've only heard them yell at each other twice.
Wow.
Yeah, like they're really great together. So I wouldn't say there's any. If anything, they're like, maybe there's like 1%.
Right,
but it's
but
like
it probably goes back and forth.
Exactly, depending on the situation,
or,
depending on what needs to get done. Because it's the running joke is like my mom will get my dad something for Father's Day, and then she'll be the first one to use that tool or something like that. She's like, oh yeah, I needed it for this project, but I knew that you would need it. And then my dad will do the same thing with my mom.
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, they're very
like couple goals for sure.
Yeah, they're very they're a great fit for each other, and so I was very fortunate to grow up in a family like that. But it's hard to think and say who would be the reacher and who would be the settler.
Right.
But then again, I can almost say that like the whole one argument, because my mom told me this when, I don't know, this was maybe like 10, 15 years ago, that when she was younger, she had a dream that she was going to marry a guy named Jim who worked on airplanes. My dad is an airplane technician. His name is Jim.
Wow.
So you can almost sit there and say, well, even though I don't believe in one, it's like, all right, well, that's kind of like she found her one.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But, it is.
My parents married 5.5 months after they met.
Gotcha.
They met, and 6 weeks later they were engaged.
Damn,
and so that made me always like believe in like the whole idea of like love at first sight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the one, like once you know. But like seeing them, I was like, no. Like, because like, don't get me wrong, they do absolutely love each other. And they love their kids, and they're gonna be together forever.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt in my mind about that. However, I do know that I think it took them a very long time to fully learn to love each other, because they are so different.
And I think that's a difference in why so many relationships nowadays fail versus succeed, is the willingness to take that time to work things out.
Yeah.
And I think that's also one of my big things, is a generational thing. You look at our parents' generation, you bought something, if it broke, you fixed it.
Right.
You didn't just throw it away and buy a new one because things had to be fixed. They were
Mhm.
easy enough to be fixed. Nowadays, you get a cracked screen on a cell phone. Oh, I'm going, gonna go get the new iPhone, whatever
Yeah.
number they're on now.
13 or 14, I don't know.
It's just, yeah,
I don't pay attention.
it's like every 6 months there's a new one out.
Yep.
It's not even
It's
every
a
year
little
now. It's
ridiculous.
every 6 months. But yeah, to me that
Yeah.
changes everything. It's like everybody, Amazon, like,
Mhm.
oh, something this broke, I'm just gonna go buy another one on Amazon because
Yep.
it's cheap.
And you don't even have to like go buy it.
No,
do
you
it
can just
from
have
your
it.
phone.
Just,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
exactly.
just delivers
So
to your door.
it's that societal difference where I think that it's going to be a huge struggle that I don't think enough people realize is relationships. It's work. It's
Mhm.
duty. It's not like, yes, there's the fun part of relationships.
Yeah.
There's having that person there, but it ain't easy to keep.
Right.
Anything worth keeping isn't easy.
Yeah.
And I think everybody wants it to be easy. So you latch on to the easiest thing,
Mhm.
and then a month, 2 months later, that honeymoon phase ends, and then it becomes work,
Mhm.
and they're like, well, crap, I don't want this.
Yep.
Goodbye. Tinder, swipe right.
Yep.
Next guy comes in, the next girl comes in, and boom, it just rinse and repeat. And you see these
100%.
people who have who've had I don't even want to say how many boyfriends, girlfriends, and it's like, well, what was the problem? It seems like there's an issue,
Yep.
and it's just, and to me, I think it's a lot of people will break up and end relationships for the dumbest reasons
Yeah.
instead of taking the time to figure things out.
Oh, 100%. I 1,000,000% agree with that. So have you ever dated down?
Yeah, I've gone on some dates where I felt like, and a lot of it was more physically, they're a little bit
Okay.
bigger, but they had great personalities and everything like that, and I liked, but it was something that I couldn't get over because I used to be very large,
Right.
and I've seen people who have been in shape, dated somebody bigger, and then all of a sudden they're like the same size, and one of them didn't get smaller.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to go back to that unhealthy part of my life. So it's difficult for me, but there are people that's like, all right, I like this person, but it's, yeah.
No, and I mean, physical attraction also is a huge thing.
Mhm.
You're allowed to be attracted to who you want to be attracted to. And I think now in this day and age with fat shaming being such a big thing, that people talk about, especially women, you're
Yeah.
not allowed to say, oh, I wasn't attracted to this person because they're big.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate that.
There's
Because
like,
I couldn't date a guy that was
Yeah.
large.
because you have the whole on those magazines, health, and
Right.
it's an obese woman. I understand that there's obese models because somebody's got to model clothing
Right.
for other obese people,
Abs-
but I wouldn't exactly say that's a picture of health.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
so but I think going on the whole dating down topic, I do think that men typically do date down as far as long-term relationships and marriage because there's the whole resource aspect, which is it's changing now,
Mm-hmm.
but then also goes into the struggle of relationships or of finding relationships, is because usually the man is a provider when you look at a traditional relationship, and then the woman is usually the nurturer for the kids and makes the house and everything like that. So now that you have women and men in the workplace, basically 50-50,
Mhm.
doing everything, you start to see where a man who men usually only date down because women want more resources.
Right.
And so if a woman makes, say 80 grand and a guy makes 70 grand, that guy's not going to have as easy of a chance with her because she makes more than him.
Right.
So for girls that make a ton of money, you're in there. I'm not saying everybody,
Right.
but a vast majority, in my opinion, you're basically eliminating the dating marketplace because there's guys that don't make as much. So I think,
Fair.
and guys are more willing to date, say a guy makes 6 figures
Mm-hmm.
and there's a smoking hot girl at McDonald's. He'll date the girl at McDonald's.
Right.
But is a girl who makes 6 figures gonna date smoke or gonna long term be involved with a guy who works at McDonald's?
Right.
Likely chances no.
Yeah. That's true.
Obviously there are the anomalies,
Mhm.
I don't believe in one, and then my mom has a dream about basically my dad to a T.
Right.
So, there, and
There
like I
there's
said, hey,
always the
there's that
exceptions.
7/100 that happened with my parents, maybe, and maybe that's why they're so lucky to be together. But
There you go.
who knows? But yeah, I do think that mostly when it comes to dating down, long term, men usually date down.
Right.
Now, short term, I think it's you basically throwing it. It's 50-50, whoever.
Yeah.
People
like if
will
you just
use
want
people
someone
for
hot,
whatever. Yeah.
then you get
People use other people for whatever reasons they want.
No, I definitely agree with that. I don't know, like, I feel like a lot of, like, back to the whole girl at McDonald's,
Mhm.
guy at McDonald's thing. I think if you're the girl at McDonald's that, like, someone with 6 figures starts dating, I would hope that that would encourage you to go for something bigger.
The girl?
Like, yeah, like, I would hope that that would,
Define something bigger. I'm
no,
just
like
curious.
something more, like, better than working at McDonald's. Like, I would hope that would push you, like, if you're dating someone who's super successful,
Mhm.
I would hope that would push you in that direction.
Yeah.
Same with, like,
Well,
looks, same with person, like, if you're the one reaching,
mhm.
I guess, quote, like, then I would hope that you would consistently, like, reach for something better for yourself,
Gotcha.
along with the person you're dating.
I think, and that comes down to, I guess, the expectations.
Right.
Is if that guy's 6 figure, obviously they can live a very comfortable lifestyle no matter what she does. He's more likely looking for a stay-at-home wife,
Right.
raise family, have kids. So I wouldn't exactly, because then you go always like, all right, well, if who's reaching, who's settling, or however that works.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you're reaching for or what
Exactly,
you're settling for.
because you can sit there and say, well, she's reaching because that guy makes so much,
Mhm.
but he can't have kids and can't raise kids and make
Right.
that money. So who's really reaching?
Right.
I think there are aspects, especially when you pigeonhole it, like say with money and stuff
Mhm.
like that, but there's always that give and take.
I guess like in my head, so when I think of McDonald's workers or like fast food
Yeah.
workers outside of like high schoolers, college,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
that type range, I think of someone that like doesn't really have goals in general.
Mhm.
That sounds horrible, but like overall, like my thought process is unless you're like in management, like or running a
Yeah.
McDonald's or something like that, you're just like working behind the cash register, like in your like mid-20s or whatever.
Yeah.
Then either you're working hard on something and you just need the
The extra
for right
cash.
now,
Yeah.
or you just don't really have a lot of goals. So I guess in my head, it's not just necessarily her reaching for like a better job opportunity,
Mhm.
but like making a plan in general.
Yeah.
If she didn't. And that's, I guess, so like, yeah, if she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom
Mhm.
with kids, whatever, I guess it would just be whatever she wants, like make sure she's moving forward and making
Yeah.
her life better. Like, so I
Yeah.
guess that's more what, like, fast food is just, I guess, like a weird thing in my head. 'Cause
Well, it's
so-
more of it's like you said that you want them to have like bigger dreams,
Right,
to reach
exactly.
somewhere. It's basically saying, well, you see this super successful guy going up to a not so successful girl as far as professional,
Right.
job relations.
Yeah.
But like as far as everything else, she could be perfect.
Right, no, and that's where I'm like, like, I guess my whole thing is like, like, I could date a guy from fast food or whatever, but he'd have to have like goals and dreams. Doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily have to be work. Like, I make enough money right now where I could support someone else, if I needed
Yeah.
to, like, if we went to that point. But like, he'd have to have some level of goals,
Mhm.
like what he wants to do with his life, whether it be a stay-at-home dad or get a job and meet,
Yeah.
like whatever. But you'd have
So,
to
so
have.
that's would you have a stay-at-home dad?
If I married someone that wanted to be, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'd be okay with it. Like, that wouldn't, there are guys that's their dream.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
if they're
I know.
great at everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's totally fine with me because I love what I do.
Mhm.
So, like, if I know I don't have to send my kids to daycare or my parents, and like I
Right.
have someone that absolutely loves them,
Mhm.
watching them, and I'm able to continue running my business and
Yeah.
building it up.
Well, no, and I think that's this is totally kind of off topic,
That's
but it's as far as like the working from home aspect, because I
Mhm.
work from home now,
right.
so that's the only reason why I even moved down here is because I can work remotely anywhere. But you have that aspect where when it comes to family, as far as kids, like you can have two parents at work,
hmm
everybody's still at home,
Right.
which is a huge dynamic that's completely different. Which
Mhm.
to me, when I have kids, because that's what I hope to do eventually, is like you could be in an office and you miss everything. So it's like
Right.
the kids' first steps, the first words,
Yeah.
everything. you're at the office making money, but if you're at home, you can be doing all that, helping out with the kids, everything like
and
that.
still working.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can be there for everything, and
Right.
you don't have to pay for somebody else to raise your kids.
Exactly, and that's like the one thing I am nervous about if I have kids is like the whole like sending them to a daycare or
Oh.
hiring a nanny or doing any of that stuff. Like that does kind of make me nervous.
I don't think I could do that.
Like-
I could make the most money in the world,
Right.
have the most smoking hot wife, but no, I am not hiring someone else to raise my kids.
Yeah. For me, I'm like, if I marry someone that wants to keep their job and I want to keep mine, like I do work from home, but I think I'd hire a nanny type of a thing just to like be in the room with
Another
the kids,
set of eyes
and then
to make
I'd
sure
be
that they're
right,
not,
and then
like,
I'd like have my home
Putting
office.
forks in the ovens.
Exactly,
and
like
stuff
or
like
feed
that.
them so I don't,
Yeah.
like, but I'm able to be there and check
Exactly,
in and
yeah.
do stuff. Like that'd kind of be my goal, unless I had a guy that was like, no,
Yeah.
staying here. I'm with, I got the kids. You go and do whatever you need to do.
No, that is an interesting aspect. That's a new phenomenon as far as
Yeah,
with everybody being in the workplace as a stay-at-home dad. It's just I don't know. It baffles me just because
it's new.
Yeah,
It's
it
new.
attacks the traditional mindset of where I grew up, and that's basically what I was surrounded with. Like every household,
Yep, mom's
Dad worked, mom-
worked. Yep.
mom for the most part, was either part-time job or stayed at home, raised the kids.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was homeschooled, so like
Yeah.
I was in a homeschool community.
Yeah.
Like everyone I knew.
Also,
Dad worked.
so like
So
as far as,
all, all my friends were homeschooled. Like my mom got
Gotcha.
into a homeschool group.
okay.
So like we would do school together. Like moms would switch.
Okay, yeah,
do
that's
stuff.
pretty interesting. At least it's still like somewhat of a classroom, like instead
Sure.
of just. Well, at least you
I mean,
have
yes,
other people
I had
around.
friends.
It's
Like
not
I wasn't
like
like here at this table with
it's
my
not
brother.
like
the
they're
whole time.
opening a door underneath the stairs, throwing it in there, and throwing a workbook, and they're like,
Right.
let me know when you're done, and shuts the door.
Yeah, no Harry Potter life. But no, like so the homeschool group, like it was literally only like mom stayed at home,
Mhm.
dads went to work, dads got home at 5, eat dinner,
Yeah,
play, go to bed. Like so no one ever knew different. Like at least none of my friends knew different.
yeah,
But I think it's a cool dynamic that dads nowadays get to be a bigger part of their kids' lives.
yeah.
I like that
do.
a lot.
And I think, like I said, the
Yeah.
working from home
Mm-hmm.
makes it aspect because I think my dad worked so strange hours as a flight technician. So the
Oh,
planes
true.
would come in, somebody's got to take the plane in. So he
Right.
could be working from 3 in the morning to
Mhm.
like 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then then he'll come home and he may be off like on a weekday. When
Right.
he's working weekends or something like that. His schedule was always crazy, so it was always hard for him to interact. But one of my favorite memories as a kid is he would come home on like a Friday, and where he used to work, there's this it's like maybe a room about this big, and it was literally shelves full of food and candy for the planes. So
That's awesome.
every time it was like take your kid to work day, or like he'd come home on like a Friday, he'd grab a little piece of candy and he'd come home and that would be like our treat for like the weekend as he came home.
That's so cute.
But yeah, it's
I love that.
just like things like that where like
Right.
small things, but then as if you're working from home, like
Yeah.
you could be there for everything. Like if
Yeah.
your kid needs help with something, you could be like, I'm right here. Like
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
I'll just close my door when I'm on a meeting and you can't come in.
Exactly.
Or half the time with the people that I'm with meetings with, they're like, somebody's got a newborn that's like literally sitting in their arms,
Yep.
like video call, and like our kids are walking in. It's
That's so cute. I love that.
but
yeah,
it's definitely a different aspect as far as work-life balance.
It is. I mean, my dad, he worked Monday through Friday, but he would work like 12-hour days,
Mhm.
10 to 12 hours, even like 50 to 60 hours a week. And our big thing was watching 24 every Monday night.
Mhm.
He wouldn't tell my mom that he let me, but like I'd sneak down when my
Yeah.
mom went to bed and we would watch 24. And that's like, so when he got off work, he'd coach my brother's baseball. So like that was never something I was into, but like that one night a week was like my
Yeah.
thing. Like nothing changed it
Mhm.
for like years, and that was like my thing. But I'm with you. Like I wish I'd had more time with my dad to
Mhm.
bond with him because me and my mom are super close.
Yeah.
And my dad, we're friends.
Yeah,
But, like, it's not
no.
the same.
It's and well, that's I guess it's a little. I would say it's very similar. Like we're having a stay-at-home mom,
Mm-hmm.
very close to mom. Not saying that I'm not close to my dad. Like I talk to him about
Yeah.
a bunch of random stuff, but it's like it is the aspect where they're kind of away. So like you're close, but you're not as close.
Right.
And you kind of wish you had a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
that's where like in adulthood that those things kind of start to change.
They
Or-
can. I
I
definitely
guess-
think it depends on like.
Yeah, you're saying your dad's not
Viewpoints.
exactly the most talkative.
Not talkative, and he's very set
in his
in
ways.
his views.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of things we don't talk about for the sake of what relationship we do have. But like, no, he, like I said, he was a great father and provider, you know, and all that. He still is. Like, my sister's still at home, and he still works to make sure she can go to college.
Yeah, so that she has a future and can do the things that she wants to do.
Right.
That makes sense.
So, which is amazing. But another thing for me is like laziness when it comes to dating down. Like, even if you have a job at McDonald's, Panera, Moe's, like whatever, like if you don't have that, like if you just choose not to work, you know, like, or you have a goal of like a business that you're gonna start, but like you never get off your ass and do it, but you say you're going to, or you say you're working on it, and you just like chill out on the couch, like, no.
Yeah.
Like, that's gonna be like, I'm done.
Yeah, and that goes back to where like the whole like your friend who's like girlfriend only gives him sex like once every 3 months. Like,
same idea.
Yeah, stuff like that where there's a certain level of commitment to happiness in the other person.
Right.
That as it goes back to the whole compromise, self-sacrifice.
Yep.
Making sure that everything is being done for your partner and for them to be happy. And I think one thing that's often overlooked is a lot of times people, what they should do in relationships and is just you do something for the other person without expecting anything back.
Right.
And what you're gonna end up finding is they're gonna do the same thing for you.
Yep.
And it's the point where you don't even have to ask for things and things just get done.
Yeah.
But everybody wants that tit for tat.
Right.
Where it's that expectation, like, oh, I did this, I expect this.
Yeah.
And then it creates friction because it's not organic. It's
exactly.
kind of setting an
You're
expectation.
doing it for the other
It's
person.
more of like an order, like, oh, yeah, I'll give you this massage, but you gotta do this, this, and this.
Right.
And it's like, well, you know,
yeah, no.
now you're giving me orders.
Yep.
Or I guess I'm never gonna give you a massage again because I don't wanna do this and this and this. But yeah, it's...
Yeah. No, I think that's also where you go into love languages though. Cause like for me, I could buy you 5 things, right? If we're dating. And like for me, that's showing you I love you, like that's gifts. But for you, like your love, like you could just want physical touch, and that could be what you want.
Yeah.
And so me giving you gifts, you're just like, thanks. You know, like
it's kind of like, well, this is nice.
Right. So you don't know that I'm trying, but then I don't know that you need something else. So I think that's where that also comes in, is like having those conversations of like what makes you feel loved.
Yeah.
As, you know, like
no, it's
so
true.
And that's a big thing because I know like some of my one of my friends that like doesn't like having sex. She's like, I don't like being touched. Like I've never been like a touchy-feely person. And I'm like, well, you should communicate that. But if his love language is touch, then there has to be a middle ground that you guys can find where you do these things, you know, and then he does these things. And I understand sex isn't everything, but like I know for me, I couldn't be with someone that wouldn't have sex with me often.
Yeah.
You know, like it just would not work. Like we would break up. Like,
And then that makes sense because like I said, there's also other people who are who want those gifts.
Right.
They want like, you know, there's people who's like, oh, I want, you know, this purse or this, and this.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, that's a ton of money, but like, you know.
Right. Well, and
but
for
those
me,
gifts could be something that's super sentimental.
Exactly.
Or
that,
something else.
or like, I know for me, like my gift being, or my love language being gifts and like acts of service, like bringing me coffee is a gift. Like if you just stop on your way home, you know, like, or if you're out to the store to grab something and you bring me a coffee bag, like that's...
Yeah, and that's those are like the small things that you do without expecting anything.
Exactly. Like you just know this will make them smile and be happy and so you do it. Exactly.
Where you find those small little quirky things that you all of a sudden see them just like their day just lightens up from something small as even just, you know, a smack on the ass or something like that.
Exactly.
You know?
Or like a text when you're at work, like, because they need that. You know, like just the smallest little things can like make someone's day, but you just gotta learn what those things are to that person.
Making somebody lunch.
Right, exactly, Even just taking out the trash or something. Like I know, so the last guy I dated, we didn't do very well. We didn't last very long, but like I told him what my love languages were, and his were very not the same as mine, and he didn't know how to do them. But one day he just did the dishes after like a party we had, and I planned to do them, but I was hungover. My best friend was in town. I was like staying with us, and I was just like super hungover and laying with her in bed, and like I'd ordered a Chick-fil-A, you know, like I was like, I'll get to him later, and he just went and did them. Yeah. And like I told him, I was like, these like this, like you know, something so small. Like it wasn't like they were a ton of dishes, but like just doing that just like made my day so much better. And he never realized it before. And I was like, something like that, like, you know, like the tiniest thing just like made my life that day. So I definitely think that's a huge part of it. But yeah, laziness is a huge thing. Or like the tit for tat, like you said,
Yeah.
like that's a huge thing that I think kind of ruins relationships in general.
Mhm.
Or like, okay, so like if someone breaks trust, I know that's hard. But I think if you're gonna stay with that person, you also have to figure out how to get over that.
Yeah,
You know?
say if you're with someone that cheated on you,
Right.
and you're gonna stick with that person, you can't sit there.
You
And
can't
it's-
hold that over their head forever.
Yeah.
Like,
Like you can sit there and kind of like I wouldn't say, you know, you can hold a grudge for a little bit. 'Cause
Right.
Obviously that
yeah,
hurts.
like it's gonna affect you.
But if you're gonna stay with that person, you can't sit there and basically be stabbing them constantly with
Right.
it, saying like,
and constantly being like, I can't
Yeah.
do this with you. I can't do that with you. Like,
yeah, or if they're like, oh, I'm gonna go out with the boys, and then all of a sudden
you blow
your
up their
phone's
phone.
your phone's getting blown up, and then like you have to take a Snapchat with you and your guys, and like,
Yeah. No.
jeez, you know, like
Yeah. Like leave me at that point.
exactly,
Like,
yeah.
I get it,
If you
but-
can't, if I can't go out and have fun
Right.
without having to
Prove myself.
well, not just prove myself, but to make you feel comfortable.
Right.
As a guy, if I had that happen where if like I couldn't go out and hang out with friends without her being paranoid, that's gonna make me feel like shit.
Right.
Because I don't want to do that to somebody.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like I cheated on her or anything, it's just because maybe they have self-esteem issues.
Or they have
Or-
a past.
or like the last couple of guys have cheated on them, so
Mhm.
they see these correlating signs that maybe don't have anything to do with cheating,
Right.
but they've created this in their mindset that, you know, if he does X, Y, Z,
He's
he's gonna
cheating
cheat
on
on
me.
me.
Yeah.
When it could be he's just talking to a friend or
Right.
something so benign,
Yep.
but it creates that paranoia, and then all of a sudden you're making him out to be a dick
Mhm.
when he's just living his life,
Yeah.
and then now he's making your life miserable, you know, unintentionally
Right.
because of paranoia.
Yep.
So it's like,
And that's again where communicating
Mhm.
and saying, hey, this bugs me because of this, and I know you're
Yeah.
not gonna do anything, but like help me. You know, like
yeah.
I don't know, maybe find a compromising way to start
Well,
that
yeah,
process.
and I think if you can't trust somebody, you shouldn't be in a relationship.
I mean, I agree with that.
Because in there, and it comes down to the point where just like that, where two people who have done nothing wrong to each other,
Mhm.
one's paranoid, the other one's just living their life
Right.
and being completely normal, and then all of a sudden it's creating issues for both sides. That's when it's like, if you can't trust somebody, like it either needs to end, or you need to learn to figure out how to trust somebody again.
Yeah. It's on you to figure
Yeah.
that out. It's not on them to make you trust.
Exactly, because they can't sit there and just be like, well, I'm gonna do this, this, and this for you, just so that I can go do like one small thing,
Right.
you know.
I've got, so this is gonna sound bad, I guess, but like, so I've been cheated on. I mean, my ex cheated, like, had girlfriends in other states,
Mhm.
other countries. Well, we were engaged. Like, oh yeah, no,
What?
he had a girlfriend in the same town I moved to for him, named Rachel.
I think I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
you
a-
telling me something about that. Yeah.
it's fun. Like full on girlfriend. She was a stripper.
So-
it
so-
was great.
So was it the EL or was it the AL? And is that why you hate all the ALs?
I'm assuming it was AEL.
Gotcha.
I
all
never
right.
figured it out, but we're just gonna go. She doesn't spell her name like me, okay? She's different. But so like after him, I think I got, for a while I like had trust issues.
Mhm.
You know, like when I started dating other people, but then I realized that they're gonna do it,
Yeah.
whether I freak out on them, you know, like, or like get paranoid and like
Yeah.
I wasn't the girl that would like blow up someone's phone and be like, where are you? I was the girl that would like
Sit in silence.
sit in silence and
And,
like not even be upset with them. I would just like be paranoid the whole time.
Yeah,
they're
you'd be
gone.
sitting there writing
Yeah,
simulations
like
in your head, what's
everything
going
that could
on.
possibly
Yeah.
go wrong in their head, and like hoping they like posted a like unhealthy shit.
Yeah.
You know, like hoping their
Stalkerish.
Snapchat, but like not full on. Just like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm not gonna like try to find you,
Mhm.
but if you post something, I'm gonna look at it within 30 seconds.
And then
like,
you're gonna be like, oh, at ease, like, oh, okay. They're,
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
just at lunch with their mom.
yeah, literally, you know, it's one of those fucking things. But I kind of came to terms with if someone's gonna cheat, they're gonna cheat.
Yeah.
Like I have nothing to do with that. You know, like
Mhm.
that's not on me. I know how I am in a relationship. Like I'm
Yeah.
a good person, and if they choose to do something outside of that,
Yeah.
then they're gonna get caught eventually. Cheating never
Yeah.
goes forever.
No,
Like
it's
you know, like you're gonna get found out, and when you do, like I will leave.
Yeah.
So know
It will-
that, and if you
yeah.
you know like, and then I just like calmed down and just like kind of got back to
yeah,
like
because it's either like I said, they're either gonna get caught or it's gonna get to the point where like, all right, well, I'm just gonna be with this person. For
Right.
you, and then it's
Exactly,
either
one or
you-
the other, yeah.
and
So
then it's
like,
just like a
we're not, I'm not gonna end up marrying someone cheating on me. So, you know, like I kind of just got to the point where honestly, if I become crazy, I'm giving them momentum to cheat.
Mhm.
I'm giving them a reason. Like,
Yeah.
why would you not cheat if I already think you're cheating?
Yeah.
So I just kind of-
you're just basically giving them a reason to.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
go
you know,
elsewhere.
not that it's okay to cheat, but
No.
like, you know, just giving them momentum to be
Mhm.
like, all right, this bitch is crazy. Let
Yeah.
me leave. Like, so like, I think that helped me just be like, all right, it's not on me. Like, if
No.
it's on them, you know, I'll be cool. Like, figure my shit out later. But anything else that you have for this?
No, that's basically about everything I have.
Cool. Well, thank you for being on.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, of course. And thank you guys for listening. We will be on Twitch this week on Thursday at 7:30. So we will see you then. Tune in. Don't call me baby. It's on my Instagram. The link is there. It's a link tree, and then you can see our podcast, our Instagram, and our Twitch. So join me then, and we'll talk more about this. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Thanks for being here.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye.